Hello, and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you are consuming content like this. The name of this lovely channel is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing. What I'm discussing in this video is how we allow some relationships in our lives to pull us out of alignment. And when I say some relationships, it's not even particular. It's not like it's romantic relationships or friendships or family relationships or work relationships or whatever. It's any type of relationship. And when I think about being pulled out of alignment, there's usually a process that happens. So primarily, it's because many of us have a desire to be in connection with other people. And so in that process of being in connection with other people, sometimes we get caught up in what this person actually needs from us, and then how much of that we can actually provide to them. And whether this is, something's on me. I don't know what it is. Whether this is our family or our children or our romantic partner, we lose sight of what it is we're actually responsible for in a connection, and then what it is the other person is responsible for themselves. And I always say that it's always okay to carry people for a little while. When you find yourself carrying someone emotionally, mentally, even physically sometimes, you will be drained in a way that you won't have anything good to give to the world, right? And I've experienced this on many occasions, and it can even be for large periods of time. If I think about sometimes, I think back to like being on like a path, and I have this really specific idea that I want to see for myself. I want to, whatever it is, create books. I want to be a best-selling author. I want to expand and grow in a certain career field or whatever it is. And then say I'll meet someone, but their ideas of what they want to do in life may be a little bit different, maybe a little bit on another path. I'm not saying anything is better or worse, just on another path. And when something like that happens, many times, if you are the type of person that wants to give all of you have, all of what you are to someone, all of what you have to someone or a situation, you may find yourself pulling away from your path to meet them where they are, as opposed to that going the other way. I've had relationships in my life recently, and this is when I say relationship, it's not necessarily romantic, to where I was realizing that there's a certain way that I want to show up in the world. There's a certain way that I want to be a friend. There's a certain way that I want to be a networking partner. There's a certain way I want to be a work relationship. But the way that they operate does not necessarily allow me to stay in alignment with that truest version of who I am at this point. And you can do one or two things in those situations. You can keep pounding at someone to try to get them to understand that you've outgrown certain things, or you've grown into a new version of yourself or whatever. You can do that, or you can be who you are and show up the way that you do and wait and see if it will be received by other parties. And one of the biggest ways that I know that a certain expansion or new level that I have is received by others is that they'll remain reciprocal even when many aspects of the relationship has shifted. They'll remain reciprocal. They'll always be in a place of reassuring you that we're good friends, we're good family members, we're good work partners, or whatever it is. We're good romantic partners. And that, this evolving version of you is okay, because it's you at the core that's important to me. I think when we allow relationships to pull us out of alignment, one of the biggest things that we're dealing with in those moments is fear. It's fear that if we don't show up and show out for this person or this connection or whatever it is, the way that they are expecting or the way that it's always been, that we'll lose it. And so you have to choose out of two things. It's either losing the connection or losing the alignment with yourself. And I can say from experience, and I mean like long-term experience, that losing the alignment with yourself is a lot more detrimental than any type of relationship outside of you that you could be creating. I might have spoken about this before, but maybe I haven't. I had a friend of mine from way back in the day who, over time, had become a little bit more, I don't know what way to put this. She had become a little bit more suggestive that somehow our connection was nestled into some sort of competition that I wasn't participating in. And through this time, what I noticed from her in this situation is that she kept pushing the narrative that that was what it was. And I would see different personality traits, different actions, things would show up. And then it got to a point where she just kind of like didn't share major things in her life with me, which I'm okay with, right? Especially if you're doing your thing, you're living your life or whatever. But I had gotten to a point to where I was like, I can continue to cater to this outcome of this connection, or I can stay in alignment with who I am and understand that I don't create connections that are like this anymore. In the past, I may have because, well, growth and development, emotional intelligence, you should be outgrowing these things, right? But in current times, I was like, this is exhausting. I don't want to keep having you thinking that I'm trying to one-up you with something over here. I'm not remotely trying to one-up you with anything. I think we have two different lives in many, many ways. And so I had a very clear conversation that this is not the type of friendship I want to have anymore. For me to stay in alignment and stay connected to who I truly am at my core, I have to be willing to let this go. And it tumbled out of there. She was like, well, I don't think that we've been friends since since a couple of years ago, whatever. But there was no real reason why that she was saying we weren't friends. It just was an idea that she had created in her head and ran with it. And when it comes to situations like that, what you're truly choosing is, am I going to stay in alignment with the truest version of me, with this developed and expanded and thoughtful and always striving to be the best version of me? Am I going to stay there, or am I going to move away from that? Because you can clearly see yourself moving away from those values, those boundaries, those beliefs, those new ways of being, and then stepping into what works in this environment. I do my best to try to stay out of specific environments to where I can't stay in alignment with who I am, right? And if it's an environment that I have to be in, or there's a necessity for me to do it at the particular time, there's a part of me that I keep to myself that is not going to be exploited in those environments. It's not going to be exploited in the connection. So many people deal with this, especially in work environments, or dealing if you're co-parenting or something like that, when there's like people that are necessary in your life, although the relationship or the connection with them is not necessarily in alignment with who you are today. And in those situations, I think the biggest mistake that we can do is revert and go back to this version of ourselves that this connection is most comfortable with, or try to change the people or anybody in the environment, or pound at them, this is the new me, this is how I operate. Because I think we all might have had moments where we did that, right? Where it was a thing. And if we remain in alignment, we have to ask ourselves, Will this relationship continue on? Will I be able to continue to connect? And I've even had romantic connections that were like this. And someone might call it cold, right? Because if I see something going down a certain path and I see where it's turning into something ugly, my goal would be rather to cut it off before it turns into that full-fledged, you can't come back from it kind of thing, rather than allowing it to continue on. And when I can clearly see that headway is not going to be made and that I'm going to have to completely come out of alignment with the version of me that I want to have show up in this world, then it's easy for me to cut ties. And it's not because the people aren't significant. It's not because they aren't valuable. It's not because I don't love or care about them. It has nothing to do with that. When you are out of alignment, it impacts everything about your life that's going to make you content, that's going to have you in a peaceful space, that's going to have you finding happiness and finding joy and living in abundance. Because the truest way that we know that we are in alignment is when we have those beautiful things in our lives. The minute we get out of alignment with what we know is the truest version of ourselves, because once you know, you can't unknow. The minute we get out of that, we'll start seeing other things falling apart in our lives. We'll start seeing like work relationships turning sour. We'll be more agitated and on edge regularly. Something I noticed for me big time was like I become like a butthole as a driver. When I'm in something or doing something or out of alignment with who I am, one of the biggest things that I notice is that I become this like aggressive driver and annoyed and aggravated. And it's so crazy because it's a small thing, but I've noticed it. I've noticed it over the years of, what is the biggest thing that is one of the areas. And what'll happen is then you find yourself caught up in situations to where you're in an accident that you didn't want to be in. You get in a road rage situation you didn't want to be in, and things start to tumble from there. Being out of alignment it's like a vibration in your body, in your being. It's like an earthquake. It's like the minute that thing rubs, and like, the way the tectonic plates underneath the earth's surface rub, and then everything starts to shake. It's like it just keeps on going. It reverberates out into your energy, the universe, the space around you. And you can't have everything in alignment in this one case and then have everything out of alignment in another case. It's going to show up somewhere. So that's what you're choosing between. And so when you really look at it objectively, a lot of people will not spend so much time trying to piece together things and like, well, today was okay. Yesterday was bad. Today was good. Because what you'll find is even with that, you're jerking yourself back and forth. And it's really hard to exist and expand and to grow and to attract those beautiful things in your life when you're jerking yourself from one place to the next. You're in alignment one day, then the next day you're stooping to another frequency to interact with people in a certain way just to make sure everybody's happy with me, everybody's okay with me. And this is what you'll find. I found this many times too. Those relationships that we spend the most time with, often jerking ourselves around for trying to fit what works and trying to make sure that we seem like we're approachable, that we seem like we're open, that we seem like we love or we care about people, whatever like that. And even you can do all kinds of little things. You can do gifts, you can do cards, you can do flowers, you can do checking up on people, text message. It doesn't matter. What you'll find in many of those connections is the minute that you are focusing on your alignment and getting right with yourself, it's like those people will just poof. And it's not even that you're telling them they can't talk to you or anything like that. They will find reasons not to make it a priority to check on you or to look for you or to initiate conversation with you. They will find reasons not to do that. And many times it's because you are in alignment and they're not willing to come outside of who they've always been to say hello to you or to see where you're at, because they know if they come into your world, then they need to operate at the level of alignment that you are operating on. And this isn't like some type of tit for tat and naggy thing, is that you'll notice very few people will come your way. I've done this this has been something I've experienced over the years when I've had enough of a connection or something. And I'm like, this is too hard. that those people, the ones that I was bending over backwards for, or trying to make sure they didn't feel isolated or whatever, because I'm very introverted, right? And so sometimes when I'm just in a shell, I'm just in a shell. It has nothing to do with the people around me. But they won't say, oh, just was thinking about you and your girls. How are y'all doing? Like, that conversation never happens. But what they will do is tell everybody around them that, well, she was acting funny. And then when you have a history of what people think is acting funny, that's what your alignment means to them. So it doesn't matter that you've made strides, or you're emotionally expanding, or you're growing and you're changing and you're being the most beautiful version of yourself. And yeah, everybody wants to experience that. That's not always the case. Your alignment to some people is you're acting funny. So sometimes we allow our relationships and our lives to pull us out of alignment. And what we're not understanding is that it is impacting every other area of our lives. It's not just something that happened in a silo. It's like, okay, I interact with this person this way on this level, and then I go back to who I am. You can't do that as a human being, because everything you are interacting with, everything that you are coming in contact with, it's all a part of your life. It's all a part of your whole being. That's why I believe in holistic manifesting, because I don't think there's a part of you, a part of your life, a part of your world, a part of your existence that you can create some beautiful, abundant, and happy thing with, and then still have this thorn in your side over there. And I've recently had to do this with a long-term relationship that I didn't feel was fruitful for me. I was like, it's good for my daughters. They need to have that. It's not good for me anymore. And I realized I didn't have to do it anymore. And so to me, it's just like cleaning house. It's like long-term connections sometimes that we've changed. And you can even see yourself doing it. You can see yourself changing and morphing into something else when you connect in these places or these environments and stuff. And it's not healthy. And it's always going to end up with you having the short end of that stick, because you're the one coming out of alignment. They're not. Don't allow relationships to pull you out of alignment. Your alignment is everything. It's where your abundance comes from. It's where your love and appreciation comes from. It's where your value comes from. Your alignment is like the perfect path of like everything lining up and being together and creating this beautiful outcome on a regular basis. And that's not to say negative things won't happen, but when they do happen, they won't even phase you for real. You're just going to keep on charging forward and be like, you know what? This always works out. Everything always works out. Why can I not just keep a smile on my face while it does? And when you're in alignment more often, you'll see how the ebbs and flows happen, but you're still creating that beautiful existence that you want to experience every day. But when you get out of alignment, it's like you're constantly holding yourself back from that outcome that you truly want to experience. It's like you're constantly pulling yourself off the path, and you want to stay on your path. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.